I think that's why women, guys with tattoos, guys who don't fit the roofer mold, if they can learn to sell value instead of bid, there should be no room for bidders ever.
Man, this is one of my favorite interviews that I've done so far. Eric the Roofer out of San Diego, California. Eric is done with his day, with his work day by about 9:30 every day. Oh, by the way, that's 9:30 a.m. He goes surfing, he goes riding out the Joshua Tree in his dune buggy, he does whatever he wants, and he's got a hugely profitable and growing business. He's generating more leads than he needs. He's booked out 3 months in advance. The guy's got a lot of things figured out, a lot of things that we can all learn from. So tune into this episode, pay attention, take some notes from Eric the Roofer out of San Diego, California. What's up, everyone? I'm here with Eric Richardson, owner of Roofing Specialist of San Diego. Super pumped to have him here to share some, what I think are some pretty unique insights with the roofing industry. So what's up, Eric? Great to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's finally great to get face-to-face with you.
Yeah, we've been interacting on Facebook a little bit, and that's been cool. Great to have the face-to-face here. You're at the kitchen table, it looks like.
Yep. That's where all the roofing sales happen. So that's where I figured I'd start it out at.
All right, so you're here at the kitchen table. It's the middle of the week. You look like you're about to go hit the skate park after this. You're not on a roof. You're not in a truck. How have you structured your business to where you're not running around like crazy? Isn't that what you have to do?
No, I used to sit in a dump truck, and as the owner, you can't afford to have an owner in a dump truck. Can't afford to have an owner on the roof. So basically, I used to do that. I was an owner-operator in the way beginning. The name of my company was Alliance Roofing because the internet wasn't even out. So I would trigger the first page of the yellow pages, which are now doorstops. How I got into it was I kind of had bad habits in the beginning. I was going to high school. After football, the coach wanted you to go to the gym and just work out 5th and 6th period. He would kind of make your electives go away. I got pulled up to varsity in 10th grade. They wanted me to basically run the team, be quarterback 11th and 12th. I wasn't really into just hanging out in the gym. So after lunch, I would kind of cut class and I would go to the beach and go surf. I met this guy at the beach, and I used to do competitive surfing in high school. And so this guy, I noticed him, I recognized him as an ex-pro surfer, been in Surfer Magazine a bunch, finally got the courage one day to paddle up to him. Now, every time I cut class, this dude was at the beach, okay? This guy was my dad's age. My dad never got to go to the beach Monday through Friday. So I had to go and ask what was his gig and what was he playing hooky from? Because that's my world. I was just in high school. I was like, hey, I'm here playing hooky, so whoever's here is probably hooky and something.
Yeah, of course.
His whole motive was not to be the richest guy on the block, but to have the most free time and the most fun on the block. His whole motive was if the surf was up, we didn't even start work until like 10 o'clock that day. It was awesome when I was single. So I was owner operator for like a good 10 years with that mentality of work hard, then bounce to Hawaii or bounce to Indo or, just go do a surf for like a month or so. Once I started having kids, I kind of had to shift gears. Internet came out, renamed the company with keywords that everybody searches when they're looking for a roofer. 3 strongest keywords are roofing and San Diego. So I had to have those names in my name. So kind of after that, I shift gears and I just decided to grow the business, to market it and grow the business. So I promised myself I had to get off the roof and I never would go back. Every now and then I'll go for a side job and help a friend out and do some nail banging, but that's about it.
Wow, that's awesome. So what did that guy was a former pro surfer. What was his career? What was his job? Or was he retired or what was the situation? Yeah, so I paddled up to him and I straight up asked him, I was like, dude, what are you doing to be at the beach every day that I'm here, you're here? And his first answer was, I own a roofing company. Ooh.
And I do all the sales, and then I got guys do work. Sometimes I do the work. So I straight up told them, I didn't even let a skip in the, no gap in the conversation, no silence. I said, well, I want to come to work for you. And so it was in 11th grade that summer, my first job. Was spudding rock for like 110 squares, torch down, recover. He was there though. The first day I showed up, he worked next to me. And I looked at him and I said, wait a minute, I thought you said you get guys to do the work for you. He goes, well, you got to understand about 120 people will show up the next day. So he told me he'd had a bad past experience with hiring a guy to come do the roof, worked him to the bone, they never showed up the next day. So he had kind of already anticipated that had happening. He wasn't going to think that some little skinny white kid was going to actually show up the next day and work hard. My father was a strength and conditioning coach for the Padres, Chargers, and Aztecs. So I had a pretty strong work ethic. He was the Olympic wrestling coach when they went to Russia and Yugoslavia. So I had my dad's work ethic in me. And so it just kind of all started from there. Just started doing roofing. My friends were scooping ice cream at 31 flavors, Baskin Robbins, for like $4.75 an hour, minimum wage at that time. This is back in 91, 92. That summer, I made such good money that I didn't even go back to school. I didn't finish high school.
Wow.
Trying to say that a little quiet so my kids don't find out. But yeah.
Well, this is going public, this podcast here, so hopefully they're not interested in our type of content yet.
Not yet.
So that's cool. My buddy Dan Andrews has this phrase that he calls the corner office test. So it's like wherever you're working, whatever level you're at, look down the hall, whether it's literally or figuratively, and look in the corner office to see like who's a level above you or 3 levels above you. Is that where you want to be? Like, is that what you're waking up every day and working hard for? And if that's not where you want to be, if you don't want to be in that corner office, then get the hell out of there and do what you want. So it seems like you did your version of that, where you saw this guy, in his office on the surfboard on a Tuesday or whatever it was. You're like, yeah, I want to be there. So like, what's that guy's path? You work for this guy, you show up, you have the work ethic. How long was it before you started out on your own, and what made that happen?
So I was technically supposed to graduate in 93. I started banging nails 92, never looked back. I got licensed in 02. So I did 10 years bouncing around from company to company. My grandfather was a huge mentor of mine. He didn't go to college. He was a self-made millionaire. He was a developer. So he would go and buy land in Section 8 areas of town, kind of near our border. He would buy dirt real cheap, and he would build apartments. I mean, just to pass time, he went and took the bar just to take the bar. So I really, really looked up to my grandfather, and I knew that I wanted to be self-employed. There was no other way for me. I've always kind of been a hustler. Like in 6th grade, the kids would eat top ramen raw. It was like a fad. It was like baseball cards for some reason. I would go get on the public bus system, take the bus over to the Asian town, and I would actually buy real top ramen with like oil and spices, not just the salt packs, right? So I was buying those for around 13 cents a package, and I was selling them for $1 a package. I made enough money by the time I was in 7th grade that there was an older kid down the street had a Volkswagen Squareback he was selling. So I went up and I told him, hey, I got enough money to buy your Squareback. He looked at me, he's like, dude, you can't even drive for 3 years. I told him, well, that's okay. I'll pay you and a fee to keep it registered and insured under your name, but I want to be able to drive it. So I used to park a car through the canyon. I would jump my back fence through the canyon to go to my car, and I drove that for like 3 years before I actually turned 16. So I've just kind of been a hustler since the get-go. It's just what I do.
So you're 13 years old. You're driving around in this car that you technically own. Yep. At 13 years old, selling ramen. That is amazing. That That's amazing. Wow. That's cool and it, there's always, you can always trace things back to, a family member or a friend or a mentor, some sort of influence that kind of shapes you. So that's really cool to see. So you had that in your blood, and after about 10 years of bouncing around different roofing companies, what was the final thing that you were like, you know what, I just got to do it. I got to go start my own thing.
There was the last company I was working for. So I went and I made sure to work for a residential, a commercial, a large, a small. I wanted to see the back end of every different structure of the roofing industry, to know what to do and what not to do. The last one I was working for was a bigger commercial guy. He was strictly doing Duralast roofs. He hired these two knuckleheads. And they went and they jumped in some petty bone that wasn't even ours. It was the electricians. Tried to self-load some Duralast rolls. Ended up tipping the forklift into the tilt-up. I mean, right through the concrete. Destroyed it. I saw that my boss probably wasn't going to overcome this one because there was a couple mistakes on jobs before. And I saw the writing on the wall that this was probably going to sink him. And so I basically grabbed two other guys that we were working with. And I said, hey, let's go sign up for the contractor school, X amount of money, 2 weeks, take the test. Let's go out on our own. Two guys said, no way, man, no way. So I said, I'm doing it. I went and did it. 2 years later, those two guys decided to join me, but they were 2 years late. Actually, one of those guys is now selling for me. And so what it was back in the beginning, we were all kind of owner operator. I'd go and sell it, install it, clean it up, then go to the next one, sell it, install it, clean it up. So all three of us were kind of doing that. We were all kind of competing with each other on Craigslist and the Penny Saver. I had no idea how to market. I didn't even know about the internet. I didn't know what to do. So that's how we were doing it. That's how we were driving traffic to our phones, was basically kind of garbage leads. I mean, just the name of Penny Saver. Dude, who would want to advertise in something called Penny Saver if you're an entrepreneur?
Who are you going to attract that way? You're going to be price shops to death, right?
Yep. And so finally, all three of us were competing, and Owens Corning came out with their, they got rid of the 30-year, the 40-year, and the 50-year shingle. They redeveloped it. They said, we're going to do a two-tiered system, preferred contractors, non-preferred, extended warranties versus regular warranties. I signed up. My rep kind of created this thing called Roof in a Box, where he was kind of using the Limbrick system and selling to the senses, so that I can get them to touch it, taste it, smell it, hear it. And everybody learns differently, and everybody has a trigger point on different ones. So if you can hit all five, you're going to hit a trigger point. And so that's what I was kind of doing. He showed me how to increase my value, increase my closing percentages, and increase my profits. I did this, and the other guy and myself, we used to compete a lot in bids. But all of a sudden, he called me one day and he goes, hey, I'm losing bid after bid after bid to you, and they're telling me you're $1,000 more. What's going on? So I told him, I go, well, I had to go get an insurance policy because that was one of the requirements for the Owens Corning to extend that extended warranty, the total system package. He was losing jobs to me, and he was way lower than me. So I told him, I go, look, come sell for me. I said, Robert, how much did you make last year selling and installing everything? He told me his numbers. I go, I will double that, and you won't have to pick up a hammer ever again. And he's like, yeah, right. First couple of weeks, he's like, he was really resistant. He's like, there's no way you're going to sell it at these numbers. There's no way you're going to sell it at these numbers. This repair, $1,800 minimum for repairs. What are you, out of your mind? So I just said, just stay with it. Just explain the value, And he's been with me ever since.
Wow, that's awesome. So that was a couple years. So what, you started in 2002, you're 2004-ish?
I'd say 2000. I got licensed in 2002. I was owner operator 2008 to 2009, I think, is when I really shifted gears. Still didn't even have a website yet. Still didn't know how to market. I just taught myself all that stuff. Like, I'd say a good eight years ago was when I rebranded and redid everything.
Yeah, cool. And I definitely want to dive into that. That's definitely going to be a big portion of what we talk about here. So you're selling, you've discovered how to sell on value, not on price. You're doing back then, I mean, we're talking 12 years ago, that's an $1,800 minimum repair, which today a lot of roofers would consider like, oh my God, I could never do that. Like that's so much, right? Because everyone's trying to compete on price. Can you talk about that a little bit and like what you see in the industry and why, like if you're just competing on bids and RFPs and things like that, that you're just kind of killing your business slowly?
Our repairs start at whatever my profit is if I was doing a full roof. So I would never let a bad job kill a good job. So if I'm going to do a repair, it has to have the same profit as I was going to be on a full roof. Otherwise, it's not worth it. I would just be doing non-repairs, all new roofing. I did that for a while, no repairs, because in California, it's one of those states where you have to go and get a contractor's license. With that contractor's license, they put you on the hook for 1 year, no matter what. Okay. Customer calls you as a professional to solve their problem. So if I go up there and I just slap mastic around a pipe and try to solve their problem, and I didn't update anything that was up to code, I'm at fault. For 1 year, I marry myself to that project for 1 year, no matter the scope of work, no matter the size. I would never go do a repair on anything that would have a chance of not solving their problem. A lot of times roofs, let's just say on a gable roof, you have a leak that's down at the bottom of one side. A lot of guys will go out there and do a minimum repair just to repair the issue at that bottom of that slope. Could be holes up at the top of that slope that could come down, migrate to my area, cause a leak. Customer's going to say, hey, I paid you money to solve my problem, and you didn't solve my problem. I'll never do that. I will always, my repairs are basically new roofing with the word repair. So that whole facet is going to get from the eave to the ridge, new material, so that that leak never leaks ever again. They get a 10-year warranty with all my repairs. I can find that information out in the first 90 seconds with a couple questions. How long have you lived here? How long do you plan on living here? That answer is going to lead me down what path they want.
Awesome. I love that paradigm, that rule that you have for yourself, that I'm going to make the same profit on a repair as I am a full replacement. And I think a lot of people, I think the only way that you can do that, and correct me if I'm wrong with your experience, the only way that you can do that is if you know that you have a pipeline of potential roof replacement jobs. I think a lot of people might get into repairs and just like try to get whatever they can because they don't have a pipeline. They're not sure where their next job is coming from, especially when they first start out. But the only way that you can be as confident as that and say, hey, this is what it is for repair because I'm going to do it right and I'm going to make a profit is if you have that deal flow that you know you can go to.
Yeah, I mean, right now we have 57 full roofs in the pipeline signed right now to almost to the end of February. It hasn't even started raining. You know what I mean? Like because I focus on being organically found, I can't pause that. I can never pause my listing. So it's just always on.
Yeah. Okay. So you're booked through almost February. This is recorded. It's Thanksgiving time. It's Thanksgiving week. So we're talking, 3 months. You're booked 3 months out basically. Yeah. So you go from starting up yourself, doing some of the labor, you get into at some point understanding this online marketing thing. You go from Alliance Roofing, which is first in the phone book, get it, to a keyword friendly URL, company name, roofing specialist of San Diego. So do you do all your marketing in-house or tell us about that? Because that's something that we teach and we preach. Like we train roofing companies on how to take control over their marketing and take control of their growth. And you're someone who's done it. We haven't worked together yet. Maybe we will in the future. But like, how do you do that? Like, tell us, how does that work?
I'm not a very educated person. I just self-read and self-learn. Right now, roofers are actually still buying domain names and buying leads. So it's not taking very much expertise effort on my end to outrank them. Hopefully they will. And it's not that I want to hold secrets. I'll tell anybody and everybody how I do it. Because if we, as the contractors, can take over page 1, we push all the directories to page 2. Okay. Google does not, it's still working, but Google has been in every blog says they do not like directories. They don't want the customer to make a click to a click. They want that first click to be on content website owned by that business. They don't want a third party clicking directories because it's too much for the customer. Google straight up says this. And so if we, the contractors, can put out content and get it to rank, we will be pushing Home Advisor, Angie's List, all these recycled garbage leads to page 2. And that's the goal. Right now, I'm kind of doing it all myself. There was a project I just launched right at the beginning of COVID. And yeah, at the bottom of everybody's website, you know how you can trick out Google Maps by putting all the little towns within your city. Like in San Diego, you'll have like at the bottom of a website, you'll say Ally Gardens, Bay Park, North Park, Pacific Beach, La Jolla, Del Mar. Well, what I did was I took each and every single one of those cities and I made them its own page. So the only part I did sub out was a content writer. I gave a content writer, she said she was going to do it for $160 a page. If you go on my website and you go to the very bottom, you'll see all those links are now hyperlinks. All those screen pages or landing pages are on my own URL. You're not going to see a landing page with a Home Advisor or an Angie's List or a Yelp or anything like that. It's going to be mine. They're going to stay on mine. And what that little thing did was it actually is tricking out the maps listing. So like if you go on Google and you type roofing contractor in Poway or roofing contractor La Jolla, Google is ranking it under 30 days at the power of video. I'm just totally blown away. It is at going to the top 1 spot within 30 days on all those pages. So then I'm going to actually take it and then I'm going to subdivide it. San Diego North, Central, and South. I'm going to go get PO boxes in each one so I can trip out my Google Maps local listings. So I'm showing up in a brick and mortar in each one of these areas. In addition to that, I'm going to get 3 Yelp pages. I mean, I'm just going to what I want to do is I want to dominate anything that's roofing related.
I love that. And that makes total sense. And that's so we've operated as an agency for 8 years before we transitioned into a training company. So we've done our fair share of SEO, and I know exactly what you're talking about. For anyone watching or listening who's like, what the hell are these guys talking about? I just want to provide a little bit more context there. So what Eric's talking about, the directories, Home Advisor, Angie's List, Yellow Pages, all those other things, those guys have incredible, obviously, budgets to be able to show up there in the top of search results. Google, their incentive, they want to serve up the most relevant local search results to their users because they want people to use Google so they can serve more ads, and that's their business model. So the more valuable those local search results are, the more that I am as a user am going to use Google because I'm getting good results there. If I'm going through directories and Home Advisor and all this, that's not the best user experience, which is why what Eric's saying is Google doesn't necessarily want that. But in contracting and roofing, like so few roofing companies are doing anything like Eric is talking about that it's, that's why these directories are able to dominate. That's why they're able to steal your traffic and sell it back to you. They're able to steal that traffic that should be going to you and sell you those leads. And by the way, sell those same leads to, 3 or 4 other roofing contractors. So I know that's a huge complaint, but that's exactly how that happens. And then on the aspect of what Eric's talking about, as far as listing all those towns, those areas, those suburbs, whatever, those areas of different towns, that's awesome because what Google wants to do is they want to serve up the most relevant local search results. So if you have a page on your website or multiple pages like Eric has, say Pacific Beach, roofing contractor. You have a page like that on your website. When someone in Pacific Beach or around Pacific Beach is searching for a roofing contractor, Google is going through their algorithm, and there's over 200 factors that enable you to rank in search results. But they're going through their algorithm and they're looking for value. They're looking for, hey, which websites talk about roofing? Which websites also talk about Pacific Beach? Which websites talk about Pacific Beach roofing? And all this happens in, microseconds, nanoseconds. But that's what enables a website to show up in search results, because Google sees that relevance. They see that local presence there. And then that's what works. So that's an awesome strategy.
There's little tricks behind the scene, like geotagging and meta-tagging your photos from the original time, saving your photo with the zip code when you save the heading. There's little tricks to do it. But if somebody's interested, we can go down that rabbit hole once they show that they can even not go to GoDaddy.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you learned all this yourself, completely self-taught, just Google?
Yeah. So Neil Patel. That dude, he says, give everybody 99% of your information. Give it all up front, because only 85% of those people are actually going to do anything with it. I mean, look at the amount of followers that dude has. So he gives out so much free content. Every week he's doing it. Like last week was ranking your SEO map rankings on how to like everything we just talked about. He does a whole week's training for free. He has so much information for free, and I have just been trying to push it out there so guys know how to do it themselves. There's professional marketing agencies that can't even do what I do, and I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just the old black hat days are gone. And once that happened, Google set out almost like a game plan. They said, if you follow the rules, we will rank you. And that's just it. Every Google algorithm, every Google blog, everything that Yoast puts out, everything that Neil Patel puts out, I just read. Like the Gibraltar, when Gibraltar came out, I spent probably like 7 days reading about Gibraltar on what that could potentially do to my map listing. When Google services first came out, I panicked. I was like, okay, are they going to get rid of the maps? Are they now going to ramp up their AdWord campaigns into a Google services? I knew Google services was coming out because I was on vacation down in Cabo at the surf trip. And I met this guy from San Francisco, and he was running that department. He's like, whoa, that's no way you know this. He goes, I'm running this department, and we're going to launch it in about 7 months, and it's going to be the Google services. So I was able to get in way before it was even launched, learn about it, add my info as part of it. When it came out, they were doing like $85 a click just for that Google guaranteed section. It was awesome. But it was just an absolute waste of money, looky-loo clicks. They don't have any content to read on that ad. That ad was so skimmed down that they don't know if you're a supplier. They don't know if you're a roofer. They don't even know what you are. Whoever does that is, man, keep my number because I'll be hiring.
Yeah, so you're right. Google tells you what they want. Like there's 200 factors in their ranking algorithm. You don't need to follow them all, but there's a few that are very key. And I think that people don't have the time that you have, which I want to get into how you have this time. And you mentioned marketing agencies don't do what you do. I think that in our experience, like in the agency world, is that a lot of agencies know what to do. They just don't dedicate the time to their clients to actually do it. And a lot of times they don't charge enough. And this is going to sound really weird and people are going to roll their eyes, but they don't charge enough to actually do the work necessary to get results for their clients. So like you were talking about doing repairs and you wanted to charge enough to make sure that you could do that full repair the way that's supposed to be done and stand behind that and give a warranty, you've got to charge a certain amount to make that happen. You can't charge $200 and provide amazing service. Now, for any contractors, roofers out there listening, and they're paying a few $100 a month to an agency to do SEO or to run ads or do whatever it is they do, think about how much work on a monthly basis that agency can actually do for your company, for your account. It might be 1 or 2 hours a month, and it's just not enough. So like if you're paying an agency, and I'm not an agency, so I'm not saying this and saying give me your money, like you should be paying a decent amount. You should be paying at least a couple grand a month, depending on the scope of work, so they can actually dedicate time to doing the work. They can dedicate time to giving you a report. They can dedicate time to hopping on the phone or hopping on Zoom with you every month to review what they've done and plan and strategize with you. That's a big problem in the agency world. Like there's all these agencies and SEO guys and Facebook ad gurus who want to charge you, such a low amount. And they just can't do the work necessary to move the needle. And if they do, a lot of times it's just like cookie cutter work, or it's that SEO content that's just like, half English and half like some weird line. You can tell someone who doesn't know English is writing it, or it's copy and pasted from, 10 other roofing company websites.
Lorem ipsum.
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, they'll try and copy and paste, and they'll still leave some of their lorem ipsum in it.
Oh yeah, lorem ipsum, the Latin language that you use when you build a website or whatever, or they'll just copy and paste, and they'll have like another roofing company's name on your website, and I've seen that. Like that's crazy.
The pictures alone, like you have to geotag and meta tag your photos. You can't be ripping stock images, because these images could be all from Black Hat, and they could have massive backlinks all in that white frame with white font. That's just totally screwing your ranking up.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you don't know what you're doing, like, as Eric says, like learn some of this stuff, learn how to do it yourself, become a practitioner. It's not overly complicated. It does take some time, and it's really the compound effect of like, little efforts put in every day. So speaking of which, Eric, like people are like, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening or watching that are like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to get into this. I want to learn this. I just don't have time, man. I'm running around 16 hours a day. I'm putting out fires. I'm on the roof. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I can't keep any guys around. Like I got to do everything myself. Like how have you structured your business to create the time to do some of this stuff?
Well, I delegate more than I do anything now. I organize and I delegate. I have one sales guy. He sold 1.9 million. He's probably going to crush 2 million this year. I have one office person, and I have 16 roofers. One of those roofers is a project manager.
Are these in-house crews, in-house roofers?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. No sub work whatsoever.
All right. Love it.
I take that back. We do sub out our tear off. Okay. So like I said, if the owner's driving the dump truck, you're losing money. If you have roofers doing a tear off, you're losing money. It's the one thing we sub out. And here in California, that I want to say probably 90% of the roofing contractors sub it out. Just in San Diego alone, there's probably 7 tear off companies, and that's all they do all day long is tear off. This morning I went out to one. It was a 19 square, 1 layer cap sheet. We're going to be putting on Duralast, but it was just my guys could have done it, but at the same time they're doing that, they're finishing another roof. So I'm able to get more roofs done.
All right, cool. So are you selling yourself?
No, I train my sales guy. I never wanted to steal leads. I never wanted to have, because I only have one sales guy, and I'm in the process of growing because labor is the hardest thing to find right now. And so the leads are coming in. Like I want to say we got 60 leads last week and we only sold 8 of them. Okay. So out of all 60 of those leads that came in, we're not closing very high, but it's because we can't get to them kind of. And so my net to grab my leads is massive. Okay. But right now I'm only casting a small net because I'm so booked out. I have massive room to bring on a couple more sales guys, but I can't bring those guys on. Like if I brought a sales guy on and said, oh yeah, you sell a job tomorrow, we're not going to start your job till March. He's going to look at me like, whoa, what's wrong with this picture? And that's the biggest hurdle right now is labor. What I did was I flipped the script last year and I cut 80% of my roofers. I used to be 80% roofers, 20% laborer helpers. Cut them all. I had a couple bad apples and I didn't want the batch to sour. So I kind of flipped the script. I am now at the beginning of the Rona, I was 80% roofers. 80% laborers learning and only 20% installers. So I'm kind of in a growth period right now. I'm looking at myself as a young sports team that has championship potential in a few years. I'm retraining everybody from the get-go because we're in the business of selling experiences and not roofing. I don't sell shingles. I don't sell tile. I sell experiences. And what I want my customer to be able to, at the end of it, go, that was the best experience I've ever had with a contractor. Because that is going to build my pipeline. That's going to build my company motto. That's going to build everything from the root. The only rule I have is every guy takes 25 pictures every day and you treat this property like it was your mom's. That's it. I don't tell them, hey, you're doing shitty work. You need to clean it up. You need to do better. What I do is I subliminally tell this guy, hey, you know what? I want you to give me 35 pictures today and not 25. Nobody likes to take a picture of a bad project. Everybody wants to take a picture of something they're proud of. So I kind of subliminally kind of ride them by just telling them what I want from them, and it has nothing to do with work that they think.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. It's like delegate the end result that you want, not necessarily how to do it or the way that they get there. But if they're taking 35 pictures, yeah, they want to show that they do great work. That's awesome. Yeah. So it's so true. I mean, the experience, the service, that's what people want. I mean, there's guys down the street from you, I'm sure, that are selling the same shingles, the same tile, the same warranties, the same financing options, the same everything. But people come to you because of that experience. And I talk about this all the time. We work with a lot of companies in Texas and Dallas, Fort Worth, where it's just like the competition is crazy. And I was on the phone with a lady, an owner, a couple hours ago. And it's like, hey, you got to tell your story. You got to get out there on social media. You're a woman-owned roofing company. That in itself is unique. So you really need to, tell that story and tell the story of your projects. That's what's going to help you stand out.
I was studying the limbrick system, which led me to the crocodile brain. So right now, I'm trying to grab anything I can and read about the crocodile brain. There's 3 levels to your brain, and there's the bottom, the middle, and then the spam folder. Everything goes through the bottom. That bottom is your crocodile brain. It's rudimentary. You either want to eat it, mate with it, or kill it. And it goes back to our caveman instincts. For instance, let's say you have a prized possession vehicle. And I'm kind of getting at to this woman-owned business. That lady has the keys to a Ferrari, and she just needs to gas it. She needs to go because she's already in a Ferrari and not a pickup truck, being a woman owner. Okay. And what I mean by that is, let's say you had a prized possession, okay, 56 Bel Air or fully restored, or a what's your favorite car? If you could pick a dream car right now, what would be your dream car?
So there's this company called Arconic that makes these. They refurbish these old school Land Rovers. And they look amazing. So that is my dream car.
Okay, let's just say that you're driving that car. You're about a month into it, okay? And you pull into Jake's in Del Mar, right on the beach. You can only valet at Jake's, okay?
I've been there.
You've been there. Perfect, see?
Yep, the 2 or 3 story. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so you pull into Jake's and you're in your brand new possession that you worked so hard to get, right? I mean, you take pictures of it every morning, selfies. That's your baby. Now you pull in, you ask the valet, you go, hey, look, I'll tip you, but I'd like to park my car anyway, right? Because that's your baby. But then this guy, this little, because you looked at him, right? He was a little skater punk looking like me, all flat billed hat, tipped up, tattoos everywhere, right? You're looking at this guy and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want this dude driving my car. You're like, hey, I'll pay you and I'll tip you, but I'll just park it myself. You open the door and he goes, oh my gosh, is that the Inline 12? Is that the one with the extra boosted seats? Is that got the seat warmer and the seat cooler? Oh, you know what? He starts spelling everything about this car that made you buy that car. What do you think you're going to do? You're probably going to hand him your keys and you're going to be like, dude, you just sold me. You know what I mean? I have now 100% trust that you can park my car because you just made your status elevation the same as mine. So that woman-owned roofing company she's rare in our industry, right? She's going to go knock on a door, answer a phone call, schedule a lead. That guard is going to be put up. People are going to be reserved. But if she can come in and do her status alignment tip-off in a 90-second speech, she is going to have them green-lighted after 91 seconds. Promise. So far ahead of everybody else. You know, it's like, because the bar goes down, it doesn't take much to cross that bar.
Yep.
You know, you show up in a fully logoed up truck, you got your work boots on, your collar on, you got ladders on your truck. That person already thinks you're an expert. That bar is already up here now. It's going to take you so much to get there. When she's down here, dude, her closing percentage should be triple of everybody else.
Yeah, totally. Because everyone's got this preconceived notion of that male roofer in the jacked up truck. They probably had a bad experience in the past with either a roofer or contractor just like him. But you bring this fresh perspective with a female-owned roofer, blonde hair lady. You know, it just completely changes that perception.
Rodney Webb does this sales for Owens Corning.
Yep.
He said that he was a black man selling roofing in Atlanta. And he became one of the best roofing salespersons ever. Crushed it. His numbers were just through the chart. Owens Corning pays him like 7 figures to go and train their sales reps and roofers. What I took from that was that he went into a situation where the bar is lower and he was jumping that bar, clearing it, standing up, not going sideways like a high jumper. He was standing up and jumping that bar. And I think that that's why he crushed it. And I think that's why women, guys with tattoos, guys who don't fit the roofer mold, if they can learn to sell value instead of bid, there should be no room for bidders ever.
I love that. I think a lot of people listening should kind of pause, maybe rewind that, take that to heart, because that's going to really set you on a different trajectory than maybe you are on now, where you're just sick of competing on price. And there's states like Georgia and Texas where there's no licensing, right? So there's no barrier to entry in the roofing industry. And
that should be even easier though. Those states should be even easier to separate and show value.
Why is that? Because we work with a lot of companies in those states, and there's guys who, most of the clients that we work with are of that abundance mindset. They get it. But then there's others like, oh man, it's so tough. Like, we're getting price squeeze and this and that and the other thing. So educate us, Eric. Why is that easier?
I don't even care what there's roofers out there who go and try to negotiate better prices on the buying end. I don't even care. I don't care what my shingle, my materials, my overhead, I could care less what that is. I want to have 50% profit, okay, on every job. When you call me, I'm going to straight up ask a bunch of questions as the gatekeeper. How long have you been thinking about doing your roof? How long have you lived in the house? How long, there's certain trigger questions that I'm going to answer because those are my objection overcomers for when I get to that property. I already know all their objections and I already know how to overcome all of them. So when I finally get there, they already know from the phone call that I'm going to be the highest price out of all the bids. They already know that I'm going to offer items that the other guys can't even get because I'm ordering them privately. They already know that I put an outhouse on every project because they got my lead organically. It wasn't a totally scrunched down little scream ad or a landing page. Now that I take that back. Not everybody is reading the website. Okay. So 13 years, there's been a free solar tube on my website with every new roof. Not one person's mentioned it. Okay. So yeah, not everybody's reading the content. It's all about the layout, keeping the right things above the fold, grabbing their interest right off the bat. But with a couple of the pictures, the reviews, and everything about it, they're going to really quickly realize before I scheduled their estimate if we're a fit or not. If they're looking for price, I'm not their guy.
Yep.
If they're looking for the best experience, I'm their guy.
Yep. Awesome. And that organic thing is so key, because when people are clicking on, say, a Google ad where you just have 3 or 4 lines of text there, they have no idea who you are. They don't even go to your website a lot of times. A lot of times just click to call or fill out a form or something like that. They don't know if you're, a guy who just started up last week who's going to be, the cheapest guy in town. They don't know if you've been around for 40 years. They have no context as to who you are, the value that you provide, why you're different, and why they should be expecting to pay you for that value. But when they land on your website, or when they see your social media brand awareness content, your value content out there, now they have this, they have this picture of you, and they're using, like I said, all these different things to form their opinion. It might be, within 5 or 10 seconds, but they're forming an opinion. Okay, we've got perfect 5-star reviews. We've got some pictures. We've got a video. The guy, looks a little different, or the girl looks a little different. And that makes me feel comfortable. And all those things kind of triangulate to give them that conclusion that you're a trustworthy contractor, which is awesome. So you generated 60 leads last week. I want to go back to that because I think a lot of people are probably still like, I'll take 60 leads a month. That sounds amazing. That's all organic. That's all from the work that you've done, referrals, and then people come to your website from finding you on Google and online.
Not one penny spent for a lead.
Amazing. Not surprising. It's great to hear that, because there's so many, and you and I kind of connected in the different Facebook groups in the roofing industry. Then it's like everyone's like pitching leads. Everyone's looking for leads. It's like leads.
Gosh.
It's insane. I'm about to leave a couple of those groups, but it's not all about leads. Like I don't want leads from people who have no idea who I am. Like that's a waste of time. It's a waste of resources, right? I want people coming to me who are like, I've seen your stuff. I like what you talk about. You resonate with me. Let's talk, that's like a whole different conversation than, hey, tell me what you do. Tell me about yourself. Pitch me your services. Give me your dog and pony show. Why are you greater than that guy down the street? That you don't grow a business like that. Like it's a waste of time. So that's amazing.
There was a guy the other day that made a comment. He said, what did he say? He goes, oh, all my stuff's from referrals. I don't pay anything either. And I was like, well, then you must be totally satisfied with the bare minimum, because we don't live in a homing pigeon world anymore. And if you don't exist on Google, you don't exist. Plain and simple. I mean, referrals are homing pigeons. That's all they are. They're just homing pigeons.
Yeah, and referrals are awesome. We get them, which is awesome. It's unpredictable, and it's not, if I say, hey, if I wake up one day and say I want 3x the referrals that I've been getting, like it just doesn't happen that way, right? Google, social media, it all helps to elevate that and create that predictability that you need.
Social media is a little tricky. I only use social media for entertainment value. That's it.
Cool.
I ain't trying to advertise my services on there. I'm not just what's the word social? You know what I mean? If you define the word social in the word social media, it should be light. It should be entertaining, and it shouldn't be driving your business model, your company core values. It should be super light and recognizable. Every time you make somebody laugh, they're going to see your logo. They're going to recognize that logo. That's it. That's all I use social media for.
Cool. I like it. I like it. Yeah. So that's an awesome position to be in. You're generating, more leads than you can really get to. You're booked out a few months. You've got potential to grow. You're this young football team that's got some good draft picks. You've got some good talent there. You've got some good structures and processes, and you're ready to go for that championship in a couple of years. I love that. Can you go into it a little bit more on, like you said, you're great at delegating, you're lean, you're not paying for leads, your overhead's probably pretty low, your profit's where you want it to be. So what is it that Eric does on, say, a weekly basis in the business? Like what do you do? How do you spend your time work-wise?
Well, because I was grinding the knuckles every day, I can't sleep in anymore. So I'm always up. Usually up 5 in the morning, jump in the hot tub while the coffee's brewing. That's how I start my day. I drive straight to the beach, go check the surf. That's just a ritual that I have. I just go and wait for the sun to come up and check the surf. I get a lot of my clarification right then. A lot of people get their ideas in the shower. I get mine staring at the ocean for some reason. So I'll just sit in my car and stare at the ocean. That's kind of like, it's kind of like my notepad of ideas, that quick little 45-minute kind of meditation, staring at the surf. Then I'll go into the office, make sure that the office guys has no questions, basically just to kind of show up and be a face every morning. Back home, roughly around 9 to 9:30. And then I just decide if I want to go ride the Harley or golf or whatever I want to do.
So who's putting out fires all day then if you're not?
If there's a fire in the office, that's my office guy. If there's a fire in the field, that's my project manager. There's systems in place where I'm the last one to be called.
That is awesome. So when do you get called? When do you have to put on your firefighting gear?
We have there's 4 units, so it's kind of like a condo complex or a townhome complex where there's 4 units in each building. They're all about 85 squares of tile. There's 47 of these buildings. They gave us 5 of them this year to do tile lift delays. It's in Del Mar. Okay, so your coastal California people are different. There's an entitlement out here that is very, very thick. Yesterday, I got a call that the police were called about a job site. We're on a 2-story building, and across the street, the other building, she called the police thinking that our guys were staring in her window from across the street 2 stories up. So that was this week's fire. I had to go out there, and I try not to be condescending and a jerk, but I killed her with kindness and made her feel unimportant. Just stuff like that. I mean, last week I took off on the Harley and went out to Joshua Tree and tooled around, and I think we're going to go out to the sand dunes and go cruising around on the motorcycles. But my business should not need me. I should be on the course every day, networking for more work.
Awesome, dude. That is a very aspirational, I think, for most people watching this, most people listening to this. So thank you for sharing that. That's really impressive what you built. And you dropped out of school, but man, you've got some real business smarts. So I'm definitely learning some things here as well.
Just read, man. I had a guy show up late the other day to an interview. He was 15 minutes late. And I said, "Hey, can you empty your pockets and put it on the desk, please?" He emptied his pockets and he pulled out a smartphone. I said, "Do you realize that this tool can build a rocket ship to take you to the moon? This tool can do so many things for you. This tool can run an ad on Google. This tool can post something on Facebook. This tool can do everything, but you forgot the most rudimentary thing that tool does. What is that? What is the name of that? He says, it's my phone. And I said, well, your phone should have made a phone call saying that you were going to be late to your interview. I mean, when I used to do my own sales, I would show up 5 minutes late on purpose. I would park around the corner 20 minutes early. I would call this person and say, you know what? There's a lot of traffic. I'm going to be 5 minutes late. Hopefully that's okay. And I would sit there around the corner staring at the clock, then drive in 5 minutes late on the button. I could have been there on early, but it wouldn't have been as monumental. It wouldn't have stood out in their memory process. Hey, dude, this guy called, said he was going to be 5 minutes late. Then he showed up 4 minutes late. Those little things stand out. And I would have hired the guy on the spot if he said, hey, I'm going to be 15 minutes late. Had he told me that, I would have launched in and said, hey, that's one of my tricks. You know what I mean? Let me teach you about my trick. But it just blows me away. It just blows me away. Some people carry around a computer in their pocket and just don't live up to it. I don't know if it's complacency. I don't know if it's laziness. I can't figure it out. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. This is simple things, right? Just as in business, simple things. Cool. So you've been at this little over 15 years or so. What would you say to either like someone just starting out or someone who's been at it a few years, but still kind of feels like they're stuck in the mud and they can't really, get out of their own way? Any tips that you would give someone to kind of elevate and get out of the grind and start working on their business and not, so much in the business, so to speak?
Don't do it all. Do not try to wear multiple hats. If you want to be part of the business, pick an aspect and do it, or get out of the way and let people do it for you. The number one thing that I could probably say is that we are a service industry. Okay. People call us with a problem to solve it. If you are not in the position to sell value and experiences, you're a commodity. You're just a shelf item. And it's not, every shingle wrapper has the same instructions. Okay. Every roofer sells the same stuff. Every roofer installs it the same way per the instructions on the bag. Okay. So why is that customer calling me to do the roof rather than do it themselves? It's an experience. You know what I mean? I have people say, $1,800, you were only here for 1 hour. I go, well, if I was here for 18 days, would that make you feel even less uncomfortable? You know what I mean? So you're paying for me my knowledge and not my actual physical product. You know what I mean? You call a locksmith, okay? You get locked out of your car and you're going to call a locksmith. That locksmith can jimmy that lock in probably 30 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. He should be charging $400, okay? Now that's going to alert people. $400 for 20 seconds of work, okay? That guy, what he is doing is he's selling experience. Now, what experience are you having while locked out of your car, your house, your vehicle? Your experience is an inconvenience, okay? So he's trying to minimize that inconvenience. Yeah, some people with horse blinders on, they're going to try to do the math and reverse engineer it. You make more than a lawyer. It's X amount per hour. Now you're per hour, or you're $1,200 an hour if you went and did 3 in an hour, right? So that's not the point. The point is he's minimizing your experience of an inconvenience. So what we do is we don't sell roofs. We sell experiences and upgrading the value of their property. It's kind of what it is. Too many people are at this instant gratification. And I think it was because of that smartphone. You know what I mean? The fact that we went snowboarding last year. And my kids, there was a VHS in the cabin, right? Not a DVD player. So it was time to rewind it. Well, my kids said, "Swipe. What are you doing? Why is it taking so long? Swipe it, Dad. Swipe it, Dad." You know, it's like, well, that's not it. We have to rewind. We have to kind and be kind and rewind before you return.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Take it back to Blockbuster.
Right?
Yep.
So they lost interest. By the time that tape was rewound, they were no longer on that couch to watch the next one. Completely disengaged and lost interest. And so we are now in an instant gratification world. And a lot of guys they get stuck paying for leads because they want a lead tomorrow. Well, it's just not the way I did it. I wanted leads to be there all the time and for free. And so I knew that building my website and on day one, watching it on page 7, I knew I wasn't getting no calls, but I had to constantly work on it, constantly perfect it. You go to the gym and do 3 sets of 10, you think you're going to show muscles that right away? You're not. It's a work. You have to work the system.
Man, I love it. I could not think of a better way to wrap this up. I'm a big fan of that, like the compound effect, putting that work in every day and seeing those results over time. The only way that you're going to make that happen is if you sell on value, you create the profit margins that you need to hire people, to delegate, so you can spend the time working on your business, learning about these things like Eric has, and you can build an amazing business and an amazing life. So thank you so much for sharing, Eric. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate you opening up there.
Now, not to be confusing, somebody who's brand new, just got a license, they're gonna need to buy leads in the beginning to keep cash flow. You're not gonna come out of the gates and try to do SE only. You're not gonna generate leads at all for a while. But once they start rolling in, let's see, I put money into my website this year, and then I haven't even optimized it before that for like 6 years. Like I hadn't done fresh content. I hadn't re-optimized it. I changed my picture loading speed. I changed a few tweaks on it, but no fresh content, and it was still ranking like crazy. So you just got to trust the system. You just got to trust it.
Yeah, and the only way you can trust the system is really to have some level of understanding about it, so you can trust the process, right? Because you're not going to see that result right away. But if you understand how it works and you trust the process, right? Just like going to the gym, I work out, I run marathons. Like I know that I'm not going to go out and run a marathon tomorrow, but if I put in the miles, I can clearly see how that's going to end up in me running a marathon in 2 months or 4 months. So. So true. And
fortunately, I'm able to do it all myself. Now, once my competition starts to figure it out, and you got to remember, we're so far past the Industrial Revolution that nobody's creating a wheel. All we do is copy what works, okay? So I'm expecting fully people to go to my website, source code all my stuff, find out that it's a WordPress site, find out it's a Genesis template, right-click my website. View everything, view my source codes, check it out, copy it. Once everybody starts copying it, they're gonna start generating value to page 1. And then I'm gonna actually have to hire a professional like you, Joseph, where everybody caught up to my level. And now I actually need a professional to take it to the next level.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like you said before, most people aren't going to do the work because that does take work. And I'm the same way. I give almost everything away for free because most people aren't going to implement it anyway. But it's there for the taking. And hey, Eric's in San Diego. We're talking about a major city, and he's doing this from his kitchen table, and he's dominating in a major city. We're not talking about some random place in Iowa or wherever else. Like, it's crazy how little competition there really is in the roofing contracting industry in 2020, where we are right now. So
pay attention. I want people to pay attention when they buy something or they get sold. You know what I mean? I'm always paying attention to those little things. Like when I go valet park a car, how am I being treated? When I go and purchase a sandwich at Subway, how am I being treated? What are their questions? Where are my trigger points? How is he pulling my heartstrings? A lot of people just don't even realize they're just kind of going through life with the blinders on. And there's so many things around you that can teach you how to do what you do like everybody else that's successful.
Yep. How do you make decisions? Like, how do you make decisions online? What content on Facebook do you stop and look at? That's the same way that your prospects are making buying decisions about your company. So, reverse engineer that process and look at how you're making buying decisions. I totally agree with that. Cool, Eric. Thanks so much, man. We got to wrap it up. How do people find you? What's your website? Give us your URL.
I'm at roofingspecialistofsandiego.com. Well, actually, just Google anything related to roofing in San Diego and test it. You'll find me.
There you go. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, and I want everybody to know what my last name is, because on Facebook, I'm Eric the Roofer. And you know why I did that? I didn't think of it myself. I'm always paying attention. I just kept hearing it over and over and over. That's funny. I have you saved in my phone as Eric the Roofer. Eric the Roofer. Because I've been doing it since high school. So that's what I'm associated with, right? So everybody has me saved as a contact, Eric the Roofer. You got to copy what works. So my name on Facebook is Eric the Roofer.
There you go. Yep.
But my last name is Richardson, because I have a lot of people asking, what the heck's your last name? I know it's not Roofer.
Yeah, I said the same thing when we scheduled this interview. I'm like, you have a last name. That's interesting. And I've got contractors and people in my phone that are what they are. And that's how we have names like we do today, like Baker, and my son's name is Hunter, and, people's profession literally became their last name. And that's why we have all those last names. So cool stuff, man. Thanks so much for sharing. It was a pleasure getting to know you. And good luck with that next phase of getting that championship.
Oh, yes. Super Bowl in 5 years.
All right. Watch this space.
But I'm going to have to redevelop. So I'm going to do a rebranding. And eventually, because I'm right now roofing specialist of San Diego. But if I want to leave California, I've already bought a couple domains. So it's going to probably in about 5 years, going to go and open up in multiple states. I want to do a franchise without the corporate franchises. But talked to a franchise lawyer, and he said, just go start one over on the other side of the fence and then call me.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, get that website going, get that SEO juice going right now. So you're ready to go.
That's right.
All right. Awesome. Talk to you soon, Eric.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.